Hello and welcome to Meet the Candidates, a candidate forum for Blaine City Council Wards 2 and 3, presented by the League of Women Voters of Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids area. I'm Gretchen Sable, a trained moderator and a member of LWV ABC. I live in Andover and I'm not able to vote for any of these candidates. The League of Women Voters has a 100-year-long history of providing objective information to help voters become informed about candidates and issues. LWV does not support or oppose any political parties or candidates, but the League does help citizens become informed voters, and we advocate for important issues that we've studied. This Meet the Candidates Forum is about informing voters. If you're interested in learning more about the League of Women Voters, visit our webpage, lwvabcmn.org. We invite people of all genders, gender identities, and anyone over the age of 16 to join. To begin the forum, the candidates will answer 2 introductory questions that they received in advance, followed by questions submitted by the public via our website. We'll end with closing statements. Candidates will take turns going first in answering questions. Answers are limited to 90 seconds for each of the 2 introductory questions and 1 minute for each of the other 2 questions and closing statements. This forum is being recorded tonight without an audience. We thank the City of Blaine and North Metro Cable for their support and assistance. LWV forums are posted on the LWV ABC YouTube channel and are cablecast by North Metro Cable. LWV ABC posts complete unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts and edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. This forum is for Blaine City Council Wards 2 and 3, and the candidates with us tonight are Al Garacki and Jess Robertson. All the candidates for these 2 wards were invited to attend, and we're sorry to say that 2 of them were not able to be with us. We do have a statement, however, from one of the 2 that are not here. So I'll start off by reading the statement that Tara Fleming has provided. Now, Tara's running for Ward 3, and this is her statement. My name is Tara Fleming, and I'm running for Blaine City Council Ward 3. I apologize for not being able to be here in person tonight, but I do want to thank the League of Women Voters for the invitation, and I will try and convey a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in southwestern Minnesota, and I've been living in the North Metro since 1993. I have been a chiropractor for 32 years and started my own clinic here in Blaine in 2000. I've been married to my husband, Jason Giovano, for 7 years, and we have 3 children. Parker is 19, Evan is 16, and my youngest, Spencer, is 13. I decided to run for city council for 2 reasons: to keep our city great and to give back to the community. 2020 allowed me to realize how important our local leadership is, and that's when God started working on my heart to get involved. We have a wonderful mayor and city council, and I'm very excited to be part of the leadership team and to be a voice for the people of Blaine. As a doctor, in order to be successful on behalf of my patients, I have to be a great listener. I have to ask the right questions, and I have to be an excellent problem solver. My 32 years of experience in doing that is what I plan on bringing to Blaine so that I can be a successful city council member for the residents of Blaine. People ask me what my vision for Blaine is. I tell them that it isn't my vision that matters, but it's the people's vision. I knocked on about 100 doors before I decided to write what to write on my door hangers. If I'm going to represent the people of Blaine, I felt in my heart that I needed to find out what they wanted. So I took to the streets in different areas of Ward 3 and started talking to people. Thank you very much. So now we're going to get to the questions.
Statements for each one.
No, now we start the first 2 questions. So the first question, and we're going to start out with candidate Robertson, starting first. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively? You have 90 seconds for this one.
Perfect, thank you. And before I answer your question, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters and Gretchen, you and Jody. And I know these events take a lot to put together behind the scenes, so thank you for the time that you invest to educate voters. We appreciate that. My name is Jess Robertson, and I have been a Blaine resident for 23 years and a lifelong resident of Anoka County. My husband and my 3 kids and I We just really love this community. We had 2 kids graduate from Spring Lake Park High School who are now NDSU students, both in health professional programs, and our youngest daughter is a student at Legacy Christian Academy. People ask a lot, why do you want to do this? Because you got to be part crazy, I think, to want to be an elected official, especially these days. And for me, it comes down to really one fundamental thing. I really do believe that we're on this earth to love and serve people. And city council and public service, in and of itself, just by definition, is, serving people. I have a family business that we own and operate in the North Metro. As far as experience and knowledge, I've been doing this job now for 4 years, and it's been an incredible honor and opportunity. As far as additional community engagement, I belong to multiple boards and community groups throughout the community, ranging from economic development to transportation to school scholarship foundations, Fogarty Arena, young professionals, not so much anymore young professional, but thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Before I answer that, thank you to the League of Women Voters. Appreciate you guys and all you do, and thank you to those who will be watching this. So to answer the question, I'm a 31-year resident of Blaine, and I'm married to my college sweetheart of 37 years. We have 2 adult married children. One of those families lives in Blaine, and we have 2 perfect grandchildren. My motivation to run for city council is service, and I'm not just talking about service. I have a proven track record of service. I was a chaplain for the Blaine Police Department and for the Fire Department for 5 years, and I know firsthand that those men and women are truly our local heroes. I've served 14 years on the Planning Commission, and I've also served 12 years on the Charter Commission. These are advisory boards to the City Council. The City Council makes all final decisions, which is one of the reasons why I'm motivated to run. I know business. I have degrees in management, marketing, leadership, and I have a doctorate. My wife and I owned a 4-store dry cleaning business where I employed 300 people in a 12-year period of time. I'm currently serving as the lead pastor at Hope Church in Blaine, and as an intrapreneur business person / pastor, we started 3 independent churches out of our existing church with $0 in our checking account. I'm the founder and CEO of a separate 501c3 humanitarian organization called Hope for the Community Food Shelf, which has 6 locations, of which we started with $0 in our checking account. Each week at our Blaine location, we give food to 3,000 plus citizens of Blaine. My motivation is to use all of my skills, my resourcefulness, and experience to help the city of Blaine go to the next level of service to its citizens.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what are your top 2 goals for the future of Blaine? And if you have more than 2, that's fine.
Okay, well, the goal of every council person should be the completion of the comprehensive plan, but my focus will be on public safety. As someone who has served with our police officers, I believe we should fully staff and fully support our police department. Currently, the police are looking to hire 3 more officers, which will bring us to a fully staffed status. I will ensure that the police are fully funded, fully staffed, and fully supported as they are now. Highway 65 is another focus. Everyone who lives in Blaine is affected by Highway 65. Our roads throughout the city experience extra wear and tear from people trying to avoid it. This creates unnecessary traffic on side streets and other roads as people will drive anywhere but 65. No doubt, Highway 65 also affects businesses who have a choice to come to Blaine or a choice to go to another city with a highway system that is safer and more practical in design. My track record is about getting resources. I'll get the resources to fix Highway 65. Innovative economic development is a second focus, and I am for the redevelopment of the Northtown area. It's a huge asset to the city, and if we redevelop it with the right mix of housing and relevant businesses, we can utilize this asset to drive our economic growth for a long time after the last house is built here. I also agree with the development plans for the 105th Avenue. If we develop this area with thoughtful innovation, this area can be a connection point for the entire city and give us a smaller town feel to our larger community.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what are your top 2 or more goals for the future of Blaine?
Thank you for the question. So I'm going to give you one overarching, very lofty goal that I think will encompass a lot of the things that I'm sure you've heard from other candidates. My primary objective is a city council member, and I think city council's primary objective is that residents love where they live. And when residents aren't loving where they're living, that could be for a variety of reasons, whether that's disagreements with neighbors. So now we're talking ordinance and code, whether it's traveling, from grocery stores to schools to doctor's appointments, it's infrastructure. Whether it's not having that premier grocery store that you've been waiting for, that's development. So, we'll kind of pick on some of those, but the overarching theme again is we want people to love where they live. Highway 65 has been a bugger for a long time. This community and our surrounding communities have seen exponential growth in their residential and even commercial sectors, and it's just putting undue burden on Highway 65. And we've worked really hard in the last couple of years. We've secured about $30 million in funding for Highway 65. We've worked relentlessly with our state and federal elected officials to try to bring your tax dollars back to the city of Blaine. It's been a while since we've seen investment from state or federal government back into the city of Blaine, and I think it's time. We've really enjoyed telling the story of Blaine to bring those funds back here. And, the other thing that Pastor Al mentioned as well is public safety. Man, we love Blaine PD here, and we love SBM Fire, and we want to continue to support them because community safety overall, again, we want you to love where you live, and that's part of that.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson. You'll get to go first on this first of the 60-second questions.
All right.
So, Candidate Robertson, what does community safety mean for you?
I think community safety means a lot of things. I think just in general, there's an expectation for residents in the city of Blaine to feel like they live in a safe community. And I think it's our responsibility as city council to break down what does that mean. Whether that's seeing additional squads coming through your neighborhood, whether that's seeing more police engagement at local schools or local city events, it could mean a variety of things. We have a great responsibility to take care of 70,000+ people. So that responsibility includes fully supporting Blaine PD, giving them all the tools that they need. Overall, our safety here doesn't even compare to what we're seeing in southern metro cities. Actually, our crime rates in Part 1 and Part 2 crime has dropped. And so overall, we do have a safe community, and that includes SBM as well. Our fire department isn't just putting out fires, they're responding to accidents, they're responding to medical calls. And so I think it's a critical part of what we do to support those two entities.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what does community safety mean to you?
Well, community safety, I believe, means just a place where you can live your life without worrying about that you're going to get hurt. And just hit on the topic of our police department and crime, and we're one of the few cities where crime has in fact decreased. And you got to give our city council great credit because they have made that commitment to fully staff and fully support the Blaine Police Department. And so I think there are only two areas that there's been an increase in crime, and that would be fraud, which is kind of a COVID-19 issue, and drug usage as well. So, we have a great police department. We need to fully fund them, but also traffic is a huge issue, especially in Ward 3. I live on Harper Street. I like to call it New York City because it's as busy as New York City sometimes. And a great thing happened. We got a self-controlled solar-powered radar detector, which kind of blinks and says, slow down, tells people their speed, and it's really helped our traffic, but traffic is an issue of safety here.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what role do labor unions play in Blaine? Are they important? Why or why not?
Well, labor unions are very important. For me, I grew up, I'm the youngest of 10 kids, and when all 10 of us kids were home, we went through 21 loaves of bread a week and 10 gallons of milk. My school supplies were paid for by my dad, who was a part of the 49er labor union. And so labor unions are very important, but at the same time, as a pastor, people have come up to me and say, Pastor Al, if you had to have a heart transplant, would you only allow a Christian surgeon to do it? And I said, if I'm having a heart transplant, I want the best surgeon to do it. And so that's kind of where I'm at with labor unions and non-labor unions. I want the best people to do this service for myself and for the city of Blaine. And so, but labor unions play a great role, and we respect them.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what role do labor unions play in Blaine? Are they important? Why or why not?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, unions are absolutely important. The two largest budget items that we have here at the City of Blaine is public safety and public works. And within those two departments, we have multiple unions representing, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, our public works staff. So it's absolutely important because the work that they do here at the City of Blaine is critical. It's quality of life stuff. It's keeping the streets clean when it's snowing. It's making sure your calls are being responded to in an emergency. And, I do want to give actually a shout out to our local union because they've been an amazing partner to our Veterans Memorial Park. They've donated their time. They've donated their resources to help put up some of the monuments out in the park. They've been here for monument unveilings. They've served coffee, and they've been a great presence and a great ally to the community in general. And I think sometimes that gets lost. It's not just about the hands-on work that they do. They do a lot of great stuff within the community as well. So they're absolutely important.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what are your thoughts on the new ban on drag racing? Is the penalty appropriate? Should spectators be ticketed for misdemeanor offense as well as participants?
This is a great question, and I'm glad you asked it. And I double-checked with Chief Padani before, on the off chance that this question would be on the ask today. So one thing I did not know when we passed this ban, it's the first in the state of Minnesota, and I didn't know that. That was never brought up to us. We did this because the police department came to us and said, hey, we need more tools in our toolbox. We can't. There's no code, there's no ordinance that allows us to disband these large gatherings that in a lot of cases turn violent or get out of control, and we don't want that in our community. This in particular ordinance, some of the language was taken from Texas actually, who also was trying to tackle this problem. As far as, I think there's some misunderstanding as far as what the ban is. Like, yes, you can still have a car show, absolutely. If you're on private property, you're at the church on the weekend and they're hosting a car show, we're still going to do that. It's not that. It's not intended to target, appropriate gatherings with people who have an affinity and a love for automobiles. I do think that there will be some partnership required with the Anoka County's Attorney's Office as far as enforcement, but yeah, I think the ordinance was necessary.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what are your thoughts on the new ban on drag racing? Is
Yeah, I saw it in the paper, by the way. I was like going, what is this? If you remember the old 1973 movie American Graffiti where they were drag racing, I was going, what's happened? And so it's like, I think it's part of some of the activity that we see happening is post-COVID, just kind of like people getting out of control and wanting to get free and do all kinds of things. But I'm totally supportive of the law, and that it's actually going to the core of it all, which is about, kind of looking at spectators involved as well. I mean, because really, when you think about different crime, if you can go after the people that actually drive the whole experience, whether that would be drag racing or prostitution or anything like that, you actually go to the core and cut it off. So I'm glad that they passed that.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what does community engagement mean to you, and how will you collaborate with the community you represent?
Well, right now I see about 3,000 Blaine citizens every week through our food shelf. And so community engagement, I'm out there on the streets and I'm seeing people and I'm hearing people. And there are a lot of people that are hurting right now because of a lot of different things. But engaging the community and asking them questions and asking them where they're at and how I can serve them, that's one way. But basically just making yourself available to listen to the people. That's what people want to hear. And I found that as I've gone door to door doing door knocking, that people just want to express their opinions and they're looking for somebody to hear them, but to engage the community to find out exactly what the needs are and how I can help them. That's really community engagement in a grassroots way.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what does community engagement mean to you, and how will you collaborate with the community you represent?
Community engagement to me is being present in whatever form that is, whether that's ensuring that you're returning calls, responding to emails. I have a terrible habit of not being able to say no. So you will find me anywhere in this community at any number of events. I actually just spent all day Wednesday volunteering at the Marianne Young Center because I have a soft spot for grandmas and grandpas, and it was the absolute best. I don't understand sometimes why people don't want to be engaged because it just makes you feel so great to be engaged. And honestly, people is the best part of this job. It's the people, it's the community. And whether that's, high school through sporting programs, I've even volunteered with Pastor Al's Food Shelf before. It just feels good to help people. And that community engagement literally comes from just being present. Be present.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what is happening with the rebuilding of the Northtown property, and how will you involve public opinion?
That's a great question, and we're very excited about this. A lot of residents may not know that Northtown is actually the city's largest tax-paying contributor. So if the Northtown Mall fails, that's a massive loss in the tax rolls, and we can't have that. It would be a detriment to the community. So we worked really hard to put together a plan, a master development plan. We worked with the same group, Damon Farber, that worked on the Rosedale project. We're gonna give it some new life. And I know change can be scary, and we have a lot of residents that live in that area that have lived there since the 1950s, and so change can be really scary. But I want to tell residents that even though I may not be a Ward 1 representative, we want to engage them in the process. And we have, I would anticipate multiple meetings. That we're not going to pull the trigger on anything until there is many opportunities for community engagement. Not everyone is going to fill out a survey on the internet. Not everyone reads Facebook. If we have to knock on people's doors to make sure they know what's going on, then that's what we're going to do. But this project will absolutely and unequivocally involve the public in every way, shape, and form.
Candidate Garacki, what's happening with the rebuilding of Northtown property, and how will you involve public opinion?
I was on the charrette of when they started to do these charrettes where they brought local business people together and community leaders together, and I'm really all for the redeveloping of Northtown. Jess said it spot on. It's a great economic driver for the city, but also it's kind of a, if you will, it's kind of a template or a namesake really of the heart of Blaine. And so I think a redevelopment of that area with a fine mix of housing developments and relevant businesses, I believe will bring a quality of life back to people in the southern part of the city and also the northern part. Northtown can be a connecting point for many people, so I'm definitely for it.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, what does diversity mean to you, and how does it help us grow and prosper in Blaine?
Well, when I first started being a pastor in 2000 at Hope Church in Blaine, our church was probably about 2% people of color. Today, it's about 30%. And so diversity means a lot of things to a lot of people, but my question is always, what comes first, inclusivity or diversity? And usually it's inclusivity. And so if you have a culture that's inclusive, whether it's your church, whether it's your business, whether it's your city, your neighborhood, diversity follows. And the reality is diversity is what I believe makes our country great. I believe it is what makes Blaine great. And so I get questions from people as I've done door knocking. What about diversity in the city government there and with the police department? And again, really, I always tell people my doctorate is in organizational systems, and there's always a delay in whatever you do. And so inclusivity comes first, and then diversity happens. So it's happening in Blaine.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what does diversity mean to you, and how does it help us grow and prosper in Blaine?
Thank you. So Blaine is a very diverse community. With the 2020 census results that we finally got breakdown in the last year here, our community has changed a lot. And I think the city of Blaine is so unique because of that diversity. And in all honesty, if you look around, it's everywhere. I mean, we have mosques. We have a variety of churches. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I think we literally have a Buddhist temple in the city of Blaine, and we embrace it. And in all honesty, we celebrate it. Every year we have World Fest, and it's beautiful. We bring cultures from around the world here to the city of Blaine to celebrate, whether it's, food or dance or language, just culture. I think that we really have a rich culture here in Blaine, and I think it makes us the unique community that we are.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, Blaine does not receive local government aid from the state. As a member of City Council, would you seek to change this? How?
This is a great question, and Blaine does not receive local government aid, and I'm not sure if a lot of people know what that is. Local government aid is exactly what it is in name, and if you are not receiving local government aid from the state of Minnesota, that means that you have your finances in order. So a lot of residents may not also know Blaine has a AAA bond rating. Only 2% of the cities across the United States have a AAA bond rating, which means that our finances here in-house are very strong. So I personally consider it an honor that we don't have to receive local government aid because it means we're doing our jobs.
Thank you. Candidate Garacki, Blaine does not receive government aid from the state. As a member of City Council, would you seek to change this, and how?
Well, here's the deal. I think Jess just knocked it out of the park with what she just described there. So, but here's the deal. I mean, whether we receive government aid or not, I will tell you there's a lot of government resources that are available. And I think Jess is right. Blaine, it does have a AAA bond rating, and we're in good, sound fiscal condition. But it's like, I will tell you what, there's resources out there from the county and also from the state and from the federal government as well. And it's like, I guarantee you, the city council members in Maple Grove or Coon Rapids, they're going, we can't wait to get them. And so I think it becomes incumbent upon us as we get to leadership on the city council that we have to go, okay, we're not getting government aid, local aid, but we want to get the resources that are available and get them to Blaine so we can improve the quality of life that we have.
Thanks. Candidate Garacki, what could Blaine be doing to reduce the city's carbon footprint, both within government services and for its residents?
Well, I think the number one thing that we see that's happening is renewable energy sources, resources. You're seeing a lot of homes that I've been seeing that have solar panels on them, and I can also see that, that in the case of hybrid vehicles and electric cars, they're becoming more and more a part of our culture and what the consumer is requesting. And so I think in the future, I think that Blaine City Council and the city in general will probably have to continue to look at policies that open up the use for the consumers to reduce the carbon imprint in their homes, as well as what the city can do to change things that they're doing now.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what could Blaine be doing to reduce the city's carbon footprint, both within government services and for its residents?
So that's a great question. So government's a little trickier than the private sector. For instance, we had at a workshop talked about putting solar panels and really kind of making our new water treatment facility fairly sustainable through solar. The problem is when, a homeowner wants to do this, it's a lot cheaper than when the government steps in and tries to, completely reduce its carbon footprint. It was like $500,000 just to install and get the panels, and then we'd get the money back, the money savings and the energy that you're selling and co-oping, it doesn't come back until like 19 years. Well, then in 19 years, we'd have to replace the panels again. So we definitely, we have great partners in Connexus Energy. I know they have some great grant programs as far as private sector. As far as the cities is concerned, we did modify some of our zoning, so some of our larger commercial businesses like Medtronics, so that they can put in solar gardens. We worked with Aveda so that Aveda could put in a solar array at their location in Blaine as well. So I do think there are things the government can do. It just has to be done within reason.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, as a member of the City Council, how would you address the fiscal disparities tax?
I think I know who asked this question. So fiscal disparities is really sneaky too. And so to just talk about fiscal disparities is challenging because a lot of people don't know what it is. It's a program that was implemented back in the 1980s. And essentially it's a tax on just business. And it goes into a pool of money, and that pool of money is distributed to counties. Anoka County is a net recipient of fiscal disparities. So what that means is there's literally a line item. So if you own a business, you look at your tax statement, it'll say right on there fiscal disparities. It is a chunk of change that then gets flushed into another form of government, and there's zero accountability on how it's spent, and it's maddening. So there's not really a short answer within a minute that I could give on that question. We could have a forum on just fiscal disparities if you wanted to. That would be a hoot. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of fiscal disparities at all.
Thanks. Candidate Garacki, do you want to tackle fiscal disparities?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, I will tell you that, or understand that completely, but I will tell you that my heart is the same as Jess's, as far as anytime there's any kind of a tax or anything on business or even an individual, and there's no accountability per se on how that money would be spent. I think it's problematic, and I also think that you can get into situations where businesses actually can be burdened with a tax perhaps that not necessarily is conducive to their culture or the stress that they're experiencing during bad times that we're having right now.
Thank you. Candidate, let's see, did I screw up there? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yeah, it is, you're right. I was looking at the wrong question. Candidate Garacki, what can be done to decrease the amount of crime around Northtown Shopping Center and make it safer for customers, especially when walking to their cars?
Well, that's a great question. It's a relevant question. We just had an issue at Northtown with gunfired and carjacking there. And I actually believe that, part of the issue is I remember a theater class that I took many, many years ago. And they showed old theaters. And one of the students said to the professor, how come none of these fancy theaters in the 20s and 30s, they didn't get trashed? And the professor said, well, if you put people in a cave, they'll act like cave people. And if you put people in a really nice establishment, they're going to behave themselves. And so part of it is a really solid redevelopment plan for Northtown, and which would have to do with housing and the right businesses, the right lighting. But yeah, I mean, it is an issue at the Northtown area right now for crime.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what can be done to decrease the amount of crime around Northtown?
I hate that we even have to ask this question, right? Like, I just feel like our world has become so volatile, and it grosses me out because it's not the Blaine that I know, and I know Northtown so differently, just having grown up around that area. I can tell you that there is going to be additional dialogue between City Council and Blaine PD. So there are officers assigned to that mall area, and if they need more tools, we're going to give them more tools. If they need more staff, we're going to give them more staff. And it really disheartens me reading of the incident that happened over the weekend, and I know that freaks people out. Those things aren't prevalent here. This, I hate to even say it's a one-off because it shouldn't happen at all. But Blaine in general is a safe community. I don't want people to live in fear. I know, for instance, if you are at Northtown, they do have security staff that will literally walk you to your car if you want them to. I mean, again, the fact that we live in a world where we even have to have this dialogue is just so sad. But, the city council's commitment is to give the police department all the tools and the resources that they need.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, what's your favorite place to walk, bike, or enjoy nature in Blaine?
This is such a great question. So I do have a favorite park. It's Loch Ness Park. I love that park. It's hard to pick one because we have 68. On top of that, we have 1,400 acres of open space, which is incredible and the envy of multiple cities. I also do like Victory Links, although I'm not going to walk 18 holes. I'll be in a golf cart. But Victory Links it's beautiful, and you can see every area of Blaine from Victory Links. You can see City Hall. You end up at the airport. You end up out on Highway 65 by the old post office. Like, it's quite incredible. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong. There is really nowhere here. It's like picking a favorite child, right? There's really nowhere in the city of Blaine that you can't find peace and respite in, that you can't find active members of the community. So you can't go wrong with any of them. But I'd say Loch Ness Park, Victory Links.
Thanks. Candidate Garacki, what's your favorite place to walk, bike, or enjoy nature in Blaine?
Again, Jess is one step ahead of me. I mean, here's the deal. Blaine, upon completion of the 2040 plan, 7.7% of Blaine will be a park or a green space. So there are so many places to enjoy. I'm over on Harper Street. I like to go to the Lakes Beach. It's beautiful. It's got a great park for the kids. I love to be down. It's like Blaine has its own little private beach there, and it's just fantastic. So I like that. But there are so many places to go in Blaine. It's a beautiful city, and I love it.
Thanks. So she can't steal your thunder on this one.
She can't steal my thunder, okay. All right.
Candidate Garacki, it's time for your closing statement.
Okay, thank you, League of Women Voters, and I wish Tara would have been here tonight. It's a great opportunity to speak about the city. I do love the city. I love the people of Blaine. That's why I serve on the Planning Commission, the Charter Commission. And that's why I've served as a chaplain for the Police and Fire Department. That's why I feed 3,000 Blaine citizens every week through our food shelf that I founded and that I volunteer as CEO. Blaine has had tremendous growth in recent years, but this will not continue indefinitely. That's why we need to elect strategic leaders who can collaborate, who can communicate, and who can influence different municipalities and people to accomplish the vision of Blaine. It's our time, Blaine, to get resources and to accomplish the task that lies ahead of us. Anytime you start a new job, it always takes a year or so to understand the vocabulary, the systems, the people, and the organizational culture. That's not me. I'm ready to serve at a high capacity on day one. I'm Al Garacki, and I'm serving in Blaine, and I'm ready to serve day one on the Blaine City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Robertson, closing statement, please.
Yes, I will not be stealing Pastor Al's thunder. But I do want to thank again the League of Women Voters, and I want to thank all the people that take the time to watch these. Nothing impresses me more than residents that want to be engaged, and we want you to be engaged. So thank you for providing them an additional opportunity to learn more about who we are and what we do and why we do it. You know, for me, this election cycle is really about one thing, and that's about experience, you know, and you did touch on that, so I'm stealing your thunder just a little bit. But we need experienced, community-driven leadership here in the city of Blaine as we move towards completing Highway 65 and as we move toward ensuring that Blaine continues to be the best place to live, work, and do business. You know, I love this city. I love serving this city. I love raising my family here in this city. And I would be honored to continue to serve the residents of Blaine. I would love to have your continued support, and I look forward to your vote this election cycle. I was going to say November, but we got early voting, so I don't want to limit people to November. So thank you.
Yeah. And I'm going to cover the early voting right now.
Yes, get it.
So this concludes the forum for Blaine City Council Wards 2 and 3. Thank you, candidates, for speaking to voters about issues and for stepping up to run for Blaine City Council. Thank you, voters, for your interest in becoming informed voters. If you have additional questions for the candidates, please contact them directly. To register to vote or to update your registration, you can go to a website called mnvotes.gov. You can enter your address in this website to verify your registration, see a sample ballot, and verify your polling place. You can also request an absentee ballot on that site. Again, that website is mnvotes.gov. mnvotes.gov. We're now in the early voting period, and you can vote any weekday right here at Blaine City Hall or at the Anoka County Courthouse in Anoka. When you vote, you participate in our democracy. You make the democracy stronger, and you make it yours. Vote on or before November 8th. Thank you and goodbye.